Today, I want to get into Jimin apparently crying at the military camp. I want to talk about people saying that JHope might be bullied at the camp and fear of this. And then we have HYBE calling the police and authorities raiding a place. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, he's spilling mug merch, and let's go. The incident involving HYBE, SM, and Kakao seems to be an ongoing situation. I think most people think once the media stops covering a specific issue, that the issue must have ended. Legal battles, especially with big companies who can afford the legal fees and have very vicious lawyers, can last for years. A simple example of something ongoing that the media has kind of stopped covering is the war in Ukraine. The media covers this issue for about a month or two, but the war is still going on and has been for over a year. People who I talk to are like it's over because the media stops covering it and they haven't heard about it. But the media stops covering things once it stops getting interesting. They don't keep covering unless people want to read about it. And once that readership drops, they stop. Going back to SM and HYBE, the battle continues and it looks like HYBE has been fighting hard. Recently, it was believed that HYBE filed a petition to the regulation authorities that accused SM of stock manipulation. This was reported by the Korea Times, so take things as you will. Basically, it was reported that Kakao, who owns a big portion of SM, is artificially increasing the stock so that HYBE can only buy a smaller portion of the company, and thus not be a big shareholder of it. This is at least what I gather. Now, of course, that would be illegal, but that would not only affect HYBE and their ability to own more, but it will affect the other investors who are your everyday people like me and you from investing in SM because it would be too expensive. Also, for those who already invest in the company, it would make their money artificially higher and a bunch of inaccuracies. Since the start of this acquisition battle, it was reported by many news sites that there were a lot of really shady business practices that were happening behind the scenes, allegedly done by SM. So of course, it makes a lot of sense that even after the acquisition was sort of finished, or at least HYBE decided to bow out of buying SM, that HYBE may feel inclined to look into everything because they felt everything that unfolded might have been a bit unfair. Now, does this mean that HYBE would be back into the battle of getting SM if the authorities come to realize there was some shady stuff? I couldn't say for sure. Given the statements that HYBE had released, they kept mentioning bowing out due to the market overheating. What this means is when prices get too high relative to the actual value of the investment, it can create a bubble that eventually bursts, causing prices to crash and leading to losses for investors. Therefore, in the context of HYBE's decision to withdraw from the acquisition of SM, they may have been concerned that the competition with Kakao was driving up the price of SM Entertainment's share to a level that would be eventually crash or pop because it's artificial. And continuing with the acquisition knowing that could harm HYBE's investors, as if HYBE continued to overtake SM, HYBE's stuff could then be artificially inflated, and what investor wants that? The other assumption we can make, I'll mention it here just for the sake of covering my bases, if HYBE were still to acquire SM due to the stock prices being artificially high, this would lead to an eventual stock price correction, which would hurt investors. Because imagine waking up one morning and watching your stock drop significantly. You would freak out and potentially think something is wrong and even sell your stocks in fear it will drop more, since drops are usually associated with a scandal or something like that. If that happens, HYBE could potentially lose so many investors simply because the investors may just act without doing research. Now, this is all inference from the articles that have been published, but it's still just a conspiracy and alleged theory. So if all of this is settled and true, could we see HYBE back into buying SM again? That is up to you to decide. I tend to find the business stuff to be very interesting. I know a lot of you probably find this stuff to be boring, but think of it this way. The impact of the label and what they do directly affects the direction in which K-pop will take. You can expect that if HYBE has control over a lot more than labels, that their marketing and business tactics will be used to push K-pop further to a global market. And this goes beyond just BTS. We know as the boys are starting to enlist and do their own stuff, the company can't entirely rely on them. JHope was recently at the camp, and we even went to see a Bangtan episode released where we see JHope off. The episode shows JHope's new shaved hair, and then we even see JHope getting emotional and hugging everyone. JHope even knew that Jin would appear and even mentioned Jin's appearance to see JHope off. And everyone was actually very surprised as they didn't know Jin would be there. But it seemed like Jin asked for the day off and they gave it to him. When JHope saw Jin, he made sure to salute Jin, and that was so cute. I do react to the video over on Patreon, and if you want to check it out, I will link the Patreon below. We have a fun time over there crying and getting emotional over this. I was able to find a clip with some English subs, so we will have that. There's still a $1 tier that is open. Hope to see you there. But this was fun to see. There was also another rumor that occurred that apparently Jimin actually cried in his car when he left the camp. This was allegedly said by a reporter, but we don't actually have full proof of that, so take that with a grain of salt. But the reason I'm even saying this is because it's totally likely that all the members were crying. It's very cute to see and think that they would have such a reaction. Well, of course, as I said many times before, the members can visit each other whenever they want, and this is not a goodbye. It's still tough. Many of you probably have cried on your last day of a job or last day of school, but the reason you might have cried for that could be because you know deep down you might not have time to see them again, or that you definitely won't see them every day again. But BTS members don't have that concern, as they will see each other again very soon once they enlist, and definitely when they come back. So there definitely could have easily not been any tears. There seemed to have been a lot of reporters waiting outside, and we actually didn't see any armies waiting outside. I am thankful for that. A lot of JHope stans seem to be the most calm and respectful. They respected JHope's privacy and let him have his ceremony without the fear that there's too many people outside or possibly blocking anyone enlisting that day from going in and out of the camp. Similar to when Jin enlisted, there was this concern of if JHope will be bullied once he enters the camp by either soldiers or one of the sergeants and teachers. There was even this joke going on that Jin was actually bullying JHope by teasing him. Jin posted a comment on Weverse when JHope posted a selfie smiling. Jin responded basically saying that JHope won't be smiling for long, and even jokingly taunted JHope by posting a D1 on JHope's photo, representing a countdown to when JHope will enlist. And then we even had a cute moment in the Bangtangbang episode where we saw JHope saluting Jin when Jin showed up. I have no doubt there will be light teasing when JHope enlists and is working with Jin. It's also believed that since Jin is Sergeant Private First Class, that Jin will be teaching and guiding JHope along. So when JHope messes up, there will no doubt be a lot of teasing. There's also a likelihood that for the next month or so, we may see photos and clips of JHope and Jin working together. I think this is very likely. If Jin were to serve at the DMZ, which is where he was initially believed he would serve, then there would likely be no reporters there, because that area is simply not allowed to be reported and only authorized people are allowed there. But if Jin remains at the training camp to train JHope, then we may see them both on the news a lot. The internet had a bit of a concern a couple years ago with enlisting in general. A lot of the concern was with the members like Jin and JHope because of their sunny and somewhat dorky personalities that we love, but we can totally see other people bullying them for. We see this in movies all the time, and we see this happen a lot with very cheerful and sunny people. The main goal that the fandom has is to make sure that JHope's sunny personality doesn't ever go away after the service. There was a lot of issues with Jin enlisting and many people leaking some of his private moments. When you're at the camp and you're doing things like showering or whatever it is, you are vulnerable to people talking about you naked or just seeing you completely stripped down, whether that is emotionally or physically. This can leave someone really bare, and if there are any bullies or mean people, the attacks can happen, and this would lead to a very difficult position for JHope to be in, as he cannot leave. However, I don't think this would be anything that would happen and nothing that armies should be concerned over. I don't think any sergeant except for Jin will be doing any of the teasing. In America, we see things like this, as I mentioned, a more sunny personality or someone who's successful get bullied. But a lot of that is due to the insecurities people have here. In Korea, while success and happiness are still insecurities that happen, people in Korea tend to respect others who are happy and successful, and many of them will use that opportunity to talk to the successful person to get advice. Also, a lot of people in Korea aren't looking to be famous, so they may even see JHope just as another person they can communicate with. So I wouldn't worry about all that. Our HYBE sunshine is safe. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos. A link down below. Thanks to this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.